So before we begin this podcast, Sam and I would just like to pay our respects to Sean Connery, who just recently passed away at the age of 90. And obviously he was known for playing the first James Bond 007. And I haven't watched 007 in a long time, but Sean Connery was quite big in the film industry. And I think it was fitting to just pay tribute to that before we started this podcast.
For sure. James Bond, we love James Bond movies now. Daniel Craig, I love some of those movies, and we'd never get any of that without Sean Connery pioneering the 007 name in the film industry. So, very sad day for the film industry, and obviously, thinking of his family at this time.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Jaden,
And I'm Samuel.
and this is a podcast where we rewatch classic or current films, and then we decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you, our listeners. Before we begin, a like on this video would be most appreciated, and you can also subscribe if you would like. If you're tuning in on Spotify or another major podcast app, you can find us on YouTube by searching The Rewatch. So what did we rewatch this week, Sam?
This week we rewatched Cars, and I'm just gonna say up front, this is probably like one of my favorite movies of all time, especially like one of my favorite animated movies of all time.
Yeah.
Would you say the same for yourself?
Yeah, 100%. Probably not like favorite movies of all time, but animated movies, like favorite movie of all time.
For sure, for sure. I think our demographic. I mean, I don't mean to generalize here, but I think I'm right in saying that males who are about our age grew up with this movie.
This is the
And
stuff we grew up with, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure yet about you, but I had the Lightning McQueen toys, and
Oh,
in fact, I
100%.
still do somewhere. And I have Wingo was like my prized possession. So that green race car that pops up to harass Mac when he's sleeping.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I had a toy of him when I was little, and he was just so cool. That was like the coolest thing you could have. I remember having a King as well. So Mr. the King, I had him as a toy car,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just so awesome. But yeah, so definitely just want to put my bias out there before we dive into it. But I think objectively, I think this is a very, very good movie.
Yeah. It doesn't just get points for nostalgia because that would be a bit unfair, but we both love this film, and I think it's very deserving of that title.
So, a hotshot race car named Lightning McQueen gets waylaid in Radiator Springs, where he finds the true meaning of friendship and family. I'm just going to add to that. I think he also finds the true meaning of being a good sport and being a good winner and a good loser,
Yeah.
and accepting that there's more to life than just winning this race.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was released in 2006, so quite some time ago. But I will say, this movie looks fantastic. Like, I know it's probably been like up-resed, so it's probably been like touched up a bit.
Yeah, it's probably been remastered for Disney Plus, but
Yeah, it's definitely like for Blu-ray and stuff for sure. But it looks fantastic regardless, and it was probably groundbreaking in terms of animation at the time, and what just an exhilarating movie.
yeah,
So
one of the first things I wrote down was I was actually shocked at how good the animation was. Like, it looks so goddamn clean. Like,
yeah,
for a 2006 film, you wouldn't have thought it would be made in 2006. Like, it was kind of I never remember it being this good when I was watching, because I haven't watched this film in ages. So when I watched it to rewatch it on this podcast, and I was watching the opening sequence, I was like, damn, this was made in 2006. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember watching the DVD and it didn't look that good. So they have up-resed it for Blu-ray, because obviously Blu-ray didn't exist in 2006.
Mm.
So but even like I saw like the reflections on the cars,
Yeah.
like as they were driving past, it just looks absolutely fantastic. Like it looks like Cars 3,
Mm.
which came out like 2018, 2017 or something like that. And that movie looks fantastic. So yeah, credit to Disney for obviously, they love this film
Disney
and
and
there's so much,
Pixar.
yeah, Disney and Pixar, the passion behind this film, you can see it through the entirety of the runtime.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, directed by John Lasseter, who has or who is about to leave Pixar. So take from that what you will about the direction of Pixar and Disney going forward, but definitely a loss to the company. We spoke
Yeah.
a bit about it last week. But yeah, so John Lasseter directed this. Important to note that he also directed the sequel. So he has hits, he has misses, but when he hits hard. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Um, so let's dive into the characters. I had no idea about this until very recently, and I had a bit of a shock when I found out who was voicing Lightning McQueen, and it was Owen Wilson, and I just never knew that.
Wait, you mean like you've only just figured it out?
Yeah, so like
What?
I just didn't have any
How is
desire
that
to find
possible?
out who was behind the voice of Lightning McQueen. I just thought it was just, some person that I wouldn't know.
His voice is
Um,
so recognizable.
yeah, and I know that's the thing. And now that I know that, it's all I can, it's obvious that it's Owen
Oh
Wilson,
my
isn't it? But
god, how did you not know that?
yeah, so yeah, and wow.
Wow.
But yeah, Bonnie Hunt is Sally in this movie. Sally is, she's an okay character. Not anything, we really,
To hark home about, but
yeah, but there's nothing really left to be desired either. So she has a
she finds her
very,
place in this film, let's say that.
for sure,
Yeah.
yeah, very neat place, that's for sure, yeah. And Paul Newman was Doc Hudson,
Mm.
and so you didn't know this,
No.
and so Paul Newman, so he died in 2008, which was 2 years after this film was released, which does explain why he's not in any of the sequels, because I think in Cars 2, they just don't mention him at all. So they were going down the route of, because obviously, sometimes, terrible things happen and Hollywood stars, pass away, and the production of these movies has to, they have a choice, and we're going to see what happens with the MCU with regards to Chadwick Boseman
Mm.
in the next, probably in the next year. We'll probably find out, but they have a choice as to whether to, write them out of the film and be respectful in that manner, or to, give the character a bit of a legacy.
Mm.
But then obviously you can't get any voice work for the character, so it's very hard to deal with those sorts of situations.
In saying
And
that though, I just watched Cars 3 very recently because I remember you were saying that it's a lot like Cars 1,
mm,
and they kind of uh, just forgot about Cars 2 and moved on.
yeah,
Um, so I watched it, and I'm pretty sure Doc Hudson was in the film.
um, was he in the start? I think he's in a flashback, because
Yeah, it's a
the
flashback.
yeah, because so they must have used some old lines or something. Or does he
I
even have
don't think
a?
he talks. He's
Okay,
just in the
yeah, okay.
film, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's nice. That's something you can do in animation. Hopefully, the MCU doesn't go down the path of CGI or anything like that.
Oh,
But
God, no.
because that would just be disrespectful.
Yeah.
But in animation, it's a lot different. Obviously, you can animate a character, and that's not really disrespectful. But
Mm.
and they could have used previous lines that have been cut out of the first film. But I like Cars 3 in the sense that, it gives Doc Hudson a bit of a legacy, because I think he really deserved it. And he was just completely knocked out of the second film,
Mm.
just wasn't there at all. I don't think he's even mentioned, because that film actually starts in Radiator Springs and Doc Hudson's nowhere to be seen. So So nice that they tied him in a bit to the Cars 3 film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Doc Hudson's one of the best characters in this. One of the most wholesome
Oh, for
characters, that's for
sure.
sure. He has his own little character arc as well.
Yeah.
So this film was nominated for 2 Oscars. No surprise. Best animated film was nominated for. Be interested to find out who it actually lost to in that category. But it was also nominated for Best Original Song. But that's not for anything that you would expect. It was for the song called Our Town, which was by Randy Newman. And
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I did hear that in the film, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the song. I think that's the song that plays when Sally's talking to McQueen and they're going through that sort of Radiator Springs flashback.
Yeah, yeah.
But very beautiful song, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the music in this movie is fantastic. Like in terms of animated movies, I think it's brilliant.
It's
Like,
up
it
there
could not be
for
any
one of the
better.
best scores in general in animated
Yes.
films, yeah.
So guess who, 2006, guess who Cars lost to?
2006.
For Academy Award for Best Animated Feature Film.
Damn. So it's not going to be Pixar. It's probably going to be DreamWorks. So, I'm just trying to think.
I'll give you a hint. It's one of those weirdly animated, almost disturbingly animated movies.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Is it Over the Hedge or? I'm close, aren't I? I'm very close.
No. Think even weirder animation, even weird, almost like realistic. Like I don't know how to explain it.
It wasn't the Polar Express, was it?
No. It was Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace
the Curse of the
Were-Rabbit, of course.
Or whatever. Yeah.
That's actually a really good film as well. I like that film. Yeah.
I can't get down with those animations. But 2006, we also had Flushed Away, which was pretty pretty good.
2006 Flushed Away. I love that film as well.
So yeah, that's always interesting to look at, which films topped the one that we're looking at.
I can't justify putting Wallace and Gromit over Cars, even though Wallace and Gromit, its animation style is just fantastic because it would just take years. I think it took them like a decade to make that film because it's stop motion, so you have to.
Yeah.
If you know what stop motion is, you take a photo, you move it, and you take another photo. So like that would just take forever. I can't justify putting it over Cars, but maybe Flushed Away because that's a really good film as well.
Yeah, Flushed Away. I remember that being quite popular, at the time when Cars was a major thing as well. So, but yeah, I agree. Cars has got to win that category. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Academy, but bad decision there. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time the Academy made a bad decision, or the last.
Yeah.
So let's go to some general thoughts. Pros. We've touched on the animation a bit. I also think that there's some really good humor and some really good wit.
Yeah.
We spoke about it last week with Monsters, Inc. Pixar used to have these really perfectly written dialogue between characters that wasn't necessarily like laugh out loud funny material, but it was just so witty and would make it's just so clever, and we get that in this movie as well.
I want to start...
Also, obviously, the opening. Oh yeah, go
for
it.
Well, if you're going to talk about the opening, you go on, because I was going to talk about it as well. You go on.
I was just going to say that opening scene is probably the best opening in any animation movie ever, I'd say. I think...
Do you want to see what I wrote?
Trying to think of some... Okay, yeah, go for it.
One of the best animated movie openings of all time.
Yes.
So we're on the same mind wave here. Like we've connected our thoughts. Yeah, I just said it was one of the best openings of all time, and obviously the song that pairs with that.
For sure, hard to disagree. I mean, think of some other ones. Lion King, maybe. That Circle of Life opening's pretty good.
Yeah.
Toy Story 3 is a pretty good opening, but to be honest, nothing is as good as this
You
movie
can't
in
compare
that
them to
first
this.
10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's actually A+ material, to be honest.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that opening scene is flawless in
Yeah.
every way. I've written some things here, like, so even the dialogue said in that opening scene between the races as they're racing is really quite good. The camera work. So I wanted to say the cinematography, but that doesn't really, there sort of isn't
Yeah.
cinematography in this because there's no camera. It's just
Yeah.
all animated. But just the way the picture is framed is just so brilliant at exhilarating the viewer.
Yeah.
Like it seems like such a fast and exciting race, and just brilliant. And the music and the sound design, so all of the different hums of the cars and
Yeah.
everything like that, I thought it's just absolutely brilliant. And the commentators as well,
Oh yeah,
absolutely
the
brilliant.
commentators. Yeah, it's kind of like it reminded me of the commentators in the podcast race from no, not the podcast, the pod racer race from
Oh yes,
the Phantom Menace.
I don't care what universe you're from, that's gotta
That's gotta
hurt.
hurt.
But you definitely, like, I love the framing of that first act where we get introduced to the main three. So the King, Chick Hicks,
Mm.
voiced by Michael Keaton, by the way, and
Who's voiced by
Lightning
Michael
McQueen,
Keaton?
Chick Hicks.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh damn! See, I didn't pick up on that.
yeah, and that's the thing with Michael Keaton. Like Michael Keaton voices Ken in Toy Story 3. I'd have no idea if I didn't look at those credits. Like
Really?
sometimes, yeah, well, for Ken anyway, I can definitely hear Michael Keaton in Chick Hicks, watching this movie. But Toy Story 3, I've got no idea. No idea. I don't even hear him. Like, I'm
That's
trying to
weird.
hear Michael Keaton. I just can't. He's got range, that man.
Mm.
So, yeah, for me, in general, this opening and how we're introduced to those three characters through those commentators, and they give us the backstory of each of them. The King is this seasoned racer who's won several piston cups, and he's the man. He's retiring though, so he's a bit old,
Mm.
and you can see that sort of like in his design. But my god, he looks sick though.
Mm.
Like that car design and that spoiler, fantastic.
I actually really like the King. I think his name's the King Weathers or something. I really like his
Yeah, Strick
character in
Weathers, I
this
think is his
film.
name. Yeah.
Strip Weathers. Yeah, I actually really like his character because he didn't have a prominent role to say, but he was kind of one of those side characters that has no screen time, but when they're on the screen, they kind of just steal it from the
Mm.
spotlight. They take the spotlight. Um, and yeah, he was kind of like a mentor for Lightning McQueen at the start of the film, and obviously that changes towards the end because
Yeah.
Doc Hudson comes in the picture. But no, I really like this character.
Yeah, no, me too. And I guess I mean, quickly, do you have any cons of the film before we just dive right back into this scene? Because I want to go more in depth, but if we go more in depth, we'll sort of lead into the rest of the film. So, do you have anything that you thought was dragging the film, or perhaps any negatives of this film?
Um, Off the top of my head, not really. I mean,
Mm,
I can't think of anything, but obviously I'm not going to give it a perfect rating because there is stuff that um, distinguishes this film from a perfect rating. And that is, the story isn't perfect. It's not completely unique. Um, I was going to say, like, I wrote down a note that said this film actually reminds me a lot of Karate Kid, where, this cocky kid who's trying to win some championship um, doesn't think he needs the help of someone. So, he doesn't need the help of Mr. Miyagi, but then he realizes towards the end, Mr. Miyagi is going to help him win, kind of like where Doc Hudson is going to help Lightning McQueen win, and I kind of felt that was very similar. So it's not completely unique, but that's not to say this film isn't bad because this film just does it perfectly. But off the top of my head, nothing's really coming to mind.
Fair enough. No, I hadn't drawn that parallel between Karate Kid, but
Mm,
that's interesting.
mm.
Um, I think when I was a kid, I found Mater quite funny,
Oh yeah,
but now not so much. I think he's just an idiot. But I don't think a lot of people really hate on Mater, and I think that's probably because of his involvement in the second film. The second film's essentially about him,
yeah,
and I think he's probably like the weakest character out of this film, but I still feel like he plays a nice role in being Lightning McQueen's best friend.
it's
Um,
how the character should be. He shouldn't be put in the spotlight like they did in the second film. He should just be a
mm,
side character that's there for the comedic purposes.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, just Mater, he's just like this outgoing, crazy sort of personality that kids would be attracted to. They would find that funny.
Mm.
But now I think, yeah, it's just a bit stupid. But the line where Mater actually says, when he reveals to Lightning that, I've made a good choice, and Lightning's like, what do you mean? It's like, in my best friend. And
Mm.
Lightning's like, oh, we're friends. That's a really nice moment.
Yeah,
But apart from that, Mater's just like not funny
doesn't
anymore.
have much.
Yeah, I also think like the film starts off so action packed and exhilarating, and then the ending is fantastic as well.
Yeah,
But then that middle bit there, I think Radiator Springs it it makes and almost breaks the film at the same time, because the characters in Radiator Springs are really really interesting,
hmm
and they all have their funny and comedic moments. But there's a certain stage where like it sort of gets a bit boring when he's in Radiator Springs.
yeah. One thing I
Um,
was gonna say actually is that a lot of this film was spent in Radiator Springs, and I felt like it, stretched on for a bit there, and it went a bit too far. And I was kind of, I was thinking to myself, hey, let's get back to the racing. That's really what I want to see. And it was the parts in Radiator Springs where, Lightning McQueen and Doc Hudson were racing, which is like, yeah, this is what I want to see. I don't want to see
mm,
Lightning McQueen, fixing a road or getting a new tires or a new paint job. Like, we want to get back to the racing. So that's
mm,
probably my only negative with this film.
yeah, definitely. I just remember like when I was watching this, I was fully invested in that first bit, fully invested in the last bit, but then in the middle, I was sort of like, I was checking my phone a bit. I was like, oh come on, like
Mm,
let's get it moving. I will say this movie is like almost 2 hours, and it's an animated movie.
mm,
And that's pushing too long for an animated movie.
probably, yeah.
Um, yeah, usually they're about an hour and a half, and I think it's only fair to say this because I think we ripped on Onward, or maybe it was Coco, I don't know, maybe both, that were a bit over the hour and a half mark, and we were like this is way too long.
hmm
But that's worse because they're worse films than this, and this film is entertaining, but I think you could easily cut down 10 minutes of that Radiator Springs time.
You probably could, but watching this film, I honestly didn't feel like it felt like 2 hours. Like even I think Coco and Onward might have been shorter. No, Coco and Onward might have been shorter than this film, but it felt like they went for longer. So watching this
Mm,
film, at no point in time did I ever feel that this film was going on for too long, because it kind of felt like it was three segments. Opening,
yeah.
Radiator Springs, and ending. Like the big race at the start, Radiator Springs, big race at the end. That's what I felt. It
Mm,
really didn't feel like it went for 2 hours, because I was enjoying watching this film.
mm.
And I haven't done that in quite a bit. Just sat down, and watched a film that I really enjoyed and gotten into it. But this actually made me do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I love this movie so much. And, you know, it's, I always find like the opening of a film to be so critical to just the rest of the movie in
Yeah.
general. You can't have a standout film without a fantastic opening.
Mm.
And if you allow me to, I'll reference the Dark Knight here,
hmm
and
Be very
because that
careful as to what you say.
and that opening is fantastic.
hmm
And also recently Tenet, that opening was fantastic.
Yeah.
And, if I may, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, that opening is fantastic. So no, it is. It is.
Is that where the rhino comes in the truck?
No, yeah.
Yeah,
with all the web swinging.
questionable.
No, with all the web swinging. Oh, it's fantastic. No, but what I'm trying to say is the start of the film is so vital to, get everybody invested. If say, the radiator spring stuff was at the start for some reason, like just change it for the sake of conversation, like you just wouldn't care. Like if the big race was in the middle and at the end, like it would just be like, oh. But the start of this film is absolutely fantastic. I love Lightning McQueen's "I am Speed" dialogue. In his, his little monologue there, he's like, "I am Speed," and then he goes,
Yeah.
Love that. And obviously the music, "Real Gone," that song is brilliant. Let's be real. It's
so good.
Hard to match that. I'd say that this movie is one of the coolest movies ever, and I'd say it's up there with Top Gun for that title.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of not necessarily the best movie ever, but the coolest movie ever. It's either got to be Top Gun or Cars for me.
Oh yeah.
Because I watched Top Gun recently. It's not a good movie, but it's such a cool movie.
Cool movie, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to delve into a bit of the lyrics here. We can sort of do a character study of Lightning McQueen.
Let's do it.
So "Real Gone," it plays at the start when Lightning McQueen's done his dialogue. Mac, knocks on the trailer. God knows how he knocks on the trailer because he doesn't have hands. But anyway, he says, "Yo, Lightning, you ready?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, Lightning's ready." And then the music kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the lyrics is, "I was born in the South." So, referring to where Lightning McQueen's from. So maybe he's from, Florida, Texas, whatever, the southern parts of America.
Yeah.
So, "I was born in the South. Sometimes I have a big mouth when I see something that I don't like." So, Lightning McQueen's born in the South, and when he sees something he doesn't like, he sort of has a big mouth.
He has a lot to say.
So, what can we say? Is Lightning McQueen a homophobe, perhaps?
What? You took that the complete wrong direction. I'm pretty sure that people from the south of North America, if that makes sense what I've just said. Wait, no, not North America. People from the United States that are in the south are typically known to be more aggravated and have a bigger mouth and speak a lot more.
Yeah, obviously I'm generalizing a bit.
You are generalizing a hell of a lot here.
Yes. Yeah, no, I just thought that was funny because, there is that generalization there, and I just thought it was a funny thing to put in the lyrics. But yeah, that's what I sort of, probably being a bit exaggerated there, but it's funny. It was funny for me.
Oh my God.
Because this is in 2006, so not exactly as progressive as we are nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, KACHOW. Chick Hicks. Let's talk about Chick Hicks.
Let's do it.
Chick Hicks, throughout the entirety of the film, he's deliberately crashing into people to cause accidents and to allow himself to win. Now, if this was to happen in a real race, that would most certainly be illegal.
Yeah.
And Chick Hicks would get, hefty time penalties for that. But allowing allowing Chick Hicks to cause chaos in the race makes the race entertaining. So
yeah,
you got to sort of, give that leeway there. So yeah, I thought, I just remember thinking, come on, Chick Hicks has got to be penalized for this. Someone's got to be
disqualified. Yeah.
I mean, Chick Hicks is just full on, trying to cause as much harm as possible to everybody else.
He just busted Lightning McQueen's tire and he went flying across the turf.
Yeah.
And he's still allowed to race.
Yeah. And then he does it again, but with everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, and how good is when Lightning McQueen does that massive jump, sticks his tongue out.
Oh yeah, yeah. On the two cars he kind of launches himself up in the air.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you just got to make it exciting. Driving around in a circle for so long is just, it's boring. NASCAR is not the most exciting thing to watch. When there isn't a crash, the most exciting thing that happens in NASCAR is when they crash. So yeah, you've got to give it a bit of excitement.
Yeah.
And sure, it's not physically possible to jump like that, but whatever. It's an animated movie; they can do what they want. When Lightning McQueen is about to win the race and he blows his tire, that is just fantastic. The adrenaline is going at that stage
Yeah.
because we have a bit of a hint as to the fact that Lightning McQueen is an asshole at this stage, but we still sort of, side with him.
Yeah.
Still sort of, we want him to win, essentially.
Yeah.
And then he blows his tire, and we see Chick and the King, like, once they're told, like, McQueen's blown a tire, go, and then they, like, go faster than everybody else because I don't know why they weren't doing that before, but they just, like, go off, and they're so determined. And one thing that I will say is that all these three characters are all extremely competent. They're not, like, crazy, in and out of winning races. Like, they're the best.
Yeah.
Like, the three of them are the best. We're only shown the best races. We only care about the best races. And so when the King and the Chick speed up and they're, like, neck and neck, we're thinking, oh my gosh, anybody can win this race. Like, what's going to happen? And obviously they all finish on a tie. And what are your thoughts on that finish?
It was pretty thrilling, to be honest, watching the three-way tie. Like, obviously when they show the footage of it, you can't really tell who wins, and then they announce that it was a three-way tie. It was a bit of a weird choice. I mean, either way, if I think Chick Hicks winning there probably would have established this film a lot better than the three-way tie, but obviously they needed that three-way tie to have the ending race. But yeah, either Chick Hicks or either three of them, if either three of them had won the race, the film could have played out the same. Because if Lightning McQueen had won, then he could have learnt that the Piston Cup isn't everything, and he goes to Radiator Springs and learns that family and being kind and being nice to everyone else, that's what it's about. If the strip or whatever his name is, the King Mayweather's, if he had won, it could have been, he retires then, and then his character's kind of put out of the image. And then if Chick Hicks had won, he could have also been that cocky racer who wins the Piston Cup, and then they race again next year and he's like, oh, I'm going to win it again. So it's a bit of a weird decision to have that three-way tie, but I can see why they made it.
Yeah, I think they had to do it to get that spectacle and also to get rid of the other races.
Yeah.
In that first race, the other races don't seem like they're even in the same league as the others.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like a nitpick, but it would have been nice to see, like, because the main three, they move up through the crowd so quickly. Just at the start when we're just focused on Lightning's just like weaving in and out. And it seems like the other cars aren't really even trying. So yeah, sort of a negative, but then you got to understand that this has to be a character. We have to care about this character. We have to care about the other characters, and we don't have time to get invested in all of in 5 other races or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I love the finish because those commentators are so good at making the scene like so hyped up, like because they're coming and the commentators are excited and they don't know what's going to happen, and they're raising the stakes and then we have the finish, and it's just like it's like watching an awesome like sports game, but whoever wins, it's always going to be a good one to watch. But I think Lightning McQueen sticking his tongue out is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, right.
Because surely then you'd think like, oh, the king should have just stuck his tongue out.
Yeah.
But regardless, of course, we have to have the three-way tie, and we get, a bit more of Lightning McQueen's character, and we, essentially realize that he is an absolute asshole. And he's like, yo, I'm a one-man show. And Chuck, who's his like pit stop person, he's doing his tires. He's like, no tires. He's like, you need tires, you idiot. And so Lightning McQueen, he's fired as crew chief. He's a one-man show, or so he thinks. And yeah, very self-centered.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think I really like I think it's quite funny when Chuck quits on him. He's like, oh no, we're leaving, Mr. One-Man Show.
Yeah.
Lightning McQueen's like, oh no, how will I ever find somebody else to fill me up with gas? And he's like, adios, Chuck. And then you hear in the background, it's like, my name is not Chuck.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Very it's an example of that witty dialogue, that we're talking about. And yeah, Pixar at its best, really. But yeah, and then again, all of the voice actors. I think Keaton is fantastic as Chick Hicks. When Chick Hicks rolls up to Lightning and he's like, "Oh, that was a great race that you ran out there, Lightning." And he's like, "Oh, thanks." And then he's like, "By me."
Yeah.
And then he's like, goes into the whole thunder comes after lightning sort of thing. And I just love the back and two between those two.
Yeah.
And I think, Owen Wilson and Michael Keaton, obviously that's their chemistry that they've created there. And then when Chick Hicks is like, when Lightning McQueen goes onto the stage prematurely thinking he's won the Piston Cup and he hasn't.
That was a bit
quite
awkward.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
quite an embarrassing moment for Lightning McQueen. And then Chick Hicks is like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Lightning. I wouldn't worry about it." And he's like, "Because I didn't do it."
Yeah.
It's great. But yeah, just things like that. This is still like the first 20 minutes, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, every single scene is either telling us a bit more about this world, or just giving us like fantastic dialogue between characters, and setting up the base of these characters really, really well. I think it does.
Yeah.
But when we go to the king, prior to that, he tries to talk some sense into Lightning McQueen, and we just see that Lightning McQueen is just he's just self-indulgent. He doesn't care about anything else except himself.
Yeah.
And I really love when Mac parks his truck at the end of the Rusty's sponsor tent. And he's like, "Oh, you're going to make your public appearance. It's in your contract." And Lightning's like, "Oh, no. And then it cuts to his advert where it's like, yes.
Yeah, that was a really funny cut, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And did you notice the fine print on that advert?
What did it say?
So it was advertising like Rusty bumper ointment, so to make your bumper look nice. And they do like a magic wipe of the bumper, and it goes from like rusty to like shiny.
Yeah.
And it like looks like it's done immediately, and the fine print says like may take up to like 36 weeks or something like that of constant like use. Like it's just like almost bordering on like dodgy advertising.
Yeah. That's I mean, it's in the advertisement, so it's completely legal, but
yeah, it's funny. But yeah, so I just love that advertisement, and it's again just the humor in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think, did you spot any sort of adult humor?
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
I was literally just about to say yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's probably the same thing you're thinking about. So Lightning McQueen, he finishes the race, and obviously he's got these two fangirl cars.
Yeah.
Who sport his colors and his famous 95 number, and they go up to him and they subtly flash him, and that is flash him with their headlights. Now, obviously, watching this film, however many years later, 14 years later,
Yeah.
I now know what it means, but at the time it would have just been
You have
right
gained the
over my
knowledge.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Yeah.
And Lightning McQueen, he looks directly at those headlights. He loves it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was funny. And another one was like, race cars don't need headlights because the track is always lit. Well, so is my brother, but he still needs headlights.
I heard that one as well.
So this sponsors his brother. Obviously, he's getting a bit lit.
Yeah.
And obviously, as young kids, we have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
And then obviously the sponsor's like, don't drive like my brother, because obviously he's probably not a very good driver because he's always lit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so brilliant, great humor in this movie. It's not like, laugh out loud. It's not a comedy, but it's just so clever. So.
It's done so well because you can see that, Lightning McQueen's the rookie, so he's not going to be sponsored by any, any big companies. At that time, Hicks has like a bunch of sponsors on his one. He's got like tons. But Lightning McQueen is sponsored by Rusty's, which is probably this like budget like company that like tries to scam people, and it's like his one sponsor, and it's so you can see why they've carefully laid all the foundation for this film, and they've just done it so well.
Yeah, it's probably like being sponsored by someone like Bing instead of being sponsored by
Google.
someone like Google, or like someone like Tesla or something. Like that's who he wants. He wants to be in the Dynaco tent.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Dynaco, obviously a Pixar reference that is in Toy Story 1, which has come out before this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they've carried that over, which is pretty nice. And then also Lightning McQueen's tires, I don't know if you noticed, but they're printed on the tires is a white Lightyear branding.
It is too.
Yeah, so that was cool. Obviously, like a tire company called Lightyear. Nice.
I think I've seen that before on YouTube somewhere, but yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, quite a few like sort of Pixar references. Did you pick up any others? Any Pizza Planet trucks in this one that I missed?
I did find the Pizza Planet truck. Tell me you found it.
Really?
You didn't
really?
find it? Oh, damn it! We'll get onto that
Whereabouts?
later. Okay, I'll do it now if you want.
Yeah, then I want to know.
Okay, let me just find my note.
Because I keep missing these Pizza Planet trucks, and it drives me nuts.
Okay, so at the final race, so when the commentators are on that kind of stand or podium, and there's like all of the cars around them that are they're filming them live, obviously. The Pizza Planet truck's just kind of there as one of the spectators in the background. So it's at 1 hour 33 minutes 16 seconds. If you want to go back and look at that for our viewers.
Wait, it's not when because I know there's a merchandise car that's like walking around. It's not him, is it? So I know he was yellow. No,
he was just like any regular.
Yeah, it's just like a yellow car.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I tried. I have to look out for whatever next Pixar movie.
You gotta look for it next time.
Oh, I know. I keep missing it. It's driving me nuts.
But in
Life is a Highway. Sorry. Go on.
I was gonna say in terms of other Pixar film references, obviously at the end credits there was a bunch of them, but we'll get onto that later.
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. Life is a Highway. I think you'd struggle to find a song that fit more perfectly to an animated film than this one.
And Life is a Highway. Oh my god, this fits so well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Obviously, because their life is literally a highway. Their cars. So absolutely brilliant. And that montage with Mac, just like driving to California, is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we get Real Gone and Life is a Highway in the first 20 minutes of the film. It's just like, it's like they blew their load early in this film. Like it's just
yeah.
They just wanted to make that first like half an hour perfect, and honestly, they do, in my opinion.
They really knock it out of the park, don't they?
Yes, and now this makes me sad almost, okay? Because we have Harv, who is Lightning McQueen's agent,
Mm-hmm.
and if I said to you that Harv is voiced by Jeremy Clarkson, you would rightfully have no idea that that was the case because,
He wasn't.
because the movie that you watched was not in fact voiced by Jeremy Clarkson. It is only the UK version of the film
Oh,
that is voiced by Jeremy Clarkson,
really?
which is such a shame.
Oh,
I
why
mean,
did they? How could they do
it just
that?
it just does not make sense. I mean, I have a DVD copy of Cars here,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that we bought that in the UK. So next time I watch Cars, I'm not going to go to Disney Plus. I'm just going to chuck the DVD in because why would you? It just does not make
How
sense
could
to
they
me why
stitch?
Jeremy Clarkson
Oh,
is only in the UK version. Like Top Gear's only a UK thing. Like it's an international. He's an international star.
everyone
Everybody
knows
knows who
him. Yeah.
Jeremy Clarkson is, and it's not like he's just an agent. So I was thinking, oh, maybe because obviously that scandal arose with him obviously getting kicked off Top Gear
Yeah.
recently. Well, recently-ish, like in terms of when this movie came out. So maybe maybe they patched it up because it's pretty easy, sort of.
Well, no.
You know,
If it was made in the UK version back in 2006,
mm,
that it wouldn't. It would have preceded
just
the
always been,
scandal. So
yeah.
it's always been like that.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like at the end of the day, he's an agent,
Mhm.
and so he plays a very small part of the film. So I don't know what the benefit is of making him American for the rest
Yeah.
of the world.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Mm. That's
But
really
that's such
weird.
a shame because, of course, Jeremy Clarkson is in this movie Cars because of course, he's
You gotta have.
one of the
You
biggest.
just gotta have a Cars movie with Jeremy Clarkson. Like,
Yeah,
you've sinned if you haven't done it. Like, let's be honest.
exactly. Exactly. And, it's a shame we didn't get to see the three of them. So Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May in car
That
form,
would have
like
been
in the third
really
one.
cool. Wait, are they?
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh, that would have been so good
Yeah,
if they
missed
made them in
opportunity.
car forms. That would have been cool.
Yeah, because I wanted to do a bit of investigating about this because I'm like, why is this like? Because sometimes I can't tell who the voice actor is. Sometimes there's a bit of doubt. Someone says, "Oh, this is the voice actor." I'm like, I can't hear them. Like, so I had a bit of doubt. Maybe I just wasn't hearing Jeremy Clarkson correctly. So I looked it up, found out everything, watched a video, and somebody asked Jeremy Clarkson what sort of car he'd be,
Mm.
and he was like, "Oh, maybe I'd be like a Ford." A Ford like Chevy or something,
Mm.
and he was like, "Oh, actually, no, I don't know." so, but I think it would have been great to get those three in, sort of make them, like these luxurious cars, or maybe make fun of, I don't know, Richard Hammond by making him like a smaller car or
Yeah,
something. Like,
yeah.
you could have had that
Missed
Top Gear
opportunity.
banter,
Yeah.
yeah, in the Cars universe, and like they could have been the commentators. They could have.
Oh, see,
They could have
yeah.
easily worked them in. So shame,
We
shame,
do
big
get a lot
shame.
of other famous people car appearances though. I'm not sure if you picked
We
up on
do.
any of them.
Yes.
I might just go through some now. So we see the
Yeah.
Tonight Show host Jay Leno as the host of the show, Jay Limo, which I thought was quite funny. We also get an
Yeah.
Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, so we also get a
Yeah.
version
Yeah.
of him. And then towards the end, we also get Michael Schumacher. We get a
Yeah.
car version of him, which I thought was
Mm.
very fitting. I mean, you can't have a Cars film without Michael Schumacher. Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice.
And I'm not sure if you knew this, but Michael Schumacher was actually revealed as the Stig of Top Gear. So there's kind of another Top Gear reference
Oh.
there, maybe. And
Yeah.
imagine a Stig version of a car in the Cars movie. That would have just been so good. Can't believe
Yeah,
they
that
didn't.
would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, lots of missed opportunities, but the movie's great nonetheless. I mean, why did Cars 2 not, like, I don't know, revolve around Top Gear? That would have been better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so missed opportunity there, and I loved having the Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he was the Russian president, if I'm not mistaken. Like he's like a war.
He might have
His
been, yeah.
car is like a like a war tank almost. Like
Yeah.
he was like, Lightning McQueen must be found,
Yeah.
and I think Jay Limo is a parody of Steve Harvey. I think that's what I got from just the set of where he was on, because Steve Harvey used to have maybe he still does. I don't know. Nobody really cares about him much anymore.
Wait, what do you mean Jay Limo is like a parody?
Well, do you know the Steve Harvey has his own, like, or maybe he used to have his own like late night show,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it looks like the set looks like almost identical to Jay Limo's one.
yeah. But Jay Limo, there's an actual late night show host called Jay
Oh,
Leno.
is there an actual guy called
Yeah,
Jay
yeah,
Limo?
yeah. So they
Oh,
got the
okay.
actor in to do the voicing for him.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool. Oh, okay. No, I had no idea who Jay Limo was. Oh,
You
my
might know
bad.
him if you search him up. He's got quite a iconic face.
Okay. All right. Shall we go to the probably like the coolest squad entrance
I want to know who made this scene and what they were taking at the time of making this scene. Because someone was on something when they were making this, let's be real.
What, with the colorful car gang?
With the colorful car gang and like the synchronized like driving in the music.
Oh, so cool. It's honestly the coolest thing like in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like with Mac obviously like falling asleep, life lesson there, don't drive while drowsy.
No.
And so Mac falls asleep, and then we just get like the most awesome entrance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
With the music is so cool, and like, you know, it's like the boys rocking
The
up.
boys rock. It's kind of like the scene in Monsters Inc. where the boys are like walking.
Yes.
It's kind of like
Yes.
this version, yeah.
Yeah, and how has this not been memed as much as the other one?
It
That's
has.
beyond
This
me.
has been memed a lot, to be fair.
Oh,
I have seen
I need
memes
to
of
see
this,
these memes. It's brilliant. I love this. I love all of the characters' designs here. I think they're called, you know, creatively, I think they're called Boost is the one that has Boost.
Boost.
The one is called DJ, and he's the one with the music on the back. Surprise, surprise.
Oh,
And then
wow, so original.
the one with the massive wing is called Wingo, so fair enough. And the brown one, you know, the one that sneezes, I have no idea what he's
I
called.
think he was called like Sneezy or something.
Sneezy.
What?
Like the dwarf. Right, he missed out on a good name if his name is Sneezy.
Oh no. What's his name?
I think he does have a name. But that's funny.
So his
Imagine-
car design is a Dodge Challenger, and his name is Snot Rod.
Snot Rod.
Oh, that's funny.
Snot Rod.
Yeah, like a funny take on Hot Rod.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Very cool. No, I just love the design of everything here.
Yeah.
Just looks so cool. Obviously, I had a Wingo car, and that was just awesome. Coolest car in the world, apart from the King, obviously.
Yeah.
Or Lightning McQueen in Dinoco colors looks pretty sick too.
That looks pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I love those flashbacks. By the way, when we get Lightning McQueen has a daydream about him being in Dinoco, and then he has a nightmare about Chick Hicks being in Dinoco.
Yeah.
And you know, and Chick Hicks is like, "Hey, McQueen, eat your heart out," and it's just so good. Like the voice acting there is brilliant, and I love all of those. You know, those flashbacks, or those daydreams that Lightning McQueen has, and obviously allowed cars to sell an incredible amount of merchandise.
There would have been so much merchandise for this movie.
So the merchandise from this movie is worth or created more money than the merchandise for Star Wars.
No way. What?
That's how massive this movie was.
Wow.
For us.
That is
incredible.
Big. Wow.
Because it sort of makes sense, because you know, those small cars, like you could get like a Dinoco Lightning McQueen for like, you know, maybe like $15, right? And that is overpriced, yes. But like, it's a lot cheaper than getting like, you know, a piece of Star Wars Lego for like $50.
Yeah.
So it would be like, you know, one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, maybe I'll just pick up something for, you know, just a small thing, just a small Lightning McQueen.
Yeah.
And obviously those stack up. That's incredible, though, that the merchandise for this movie is worth more than Star Wars.
Yeah.
But maybe that's changed. I don't think it has because of how Disney's handled Star Wars. No one's buying
They've
merchandise.
butchered it, haven't they?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if Cars is still. I mean, you go to like toy aisles. I imagine it's still like Cars has probably got a bigger section than Star Wars nowadays. But regardless, I love the lawyer jokes in this movie.
Yeah, watching this film back, I never actually realized that what's her name? Sally was an attorney. Like that just completely went over my head when I was young.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't think I even probably knew what a lawyer was back then, but obviously I do now.
Yeah.
And there's some great lawyer jokes in there. So that court scene, so when Lightning McQueen gets detained and brought to Radiator Springs Court, is actually a really good scene, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's probably like the best scene in Radiator Springs, maybe.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Or the racing scenes were pretty good.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, with Doc Hudson. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so I love when when the sheriff is like, "Where's your lawyer?" and Lightning McQueen's like, "Tahiti, maybe."
Yeah.
He's got a timeshare there. So funny, like indicating that all lawyers are not doing any work. They're on holiday.
Yeah.
Tropical islands. So it's very funny stuff. And then he's like, "Who wants to be his lawyer?" And nobody
volunteers
except Mater, which I will say, if Mater had gotten Lightning McQueen an extremely bad deal, there would be a surely there would be a suit. Lightning McQueen would sue Mater for inadequate representation. He's not exactly a lawyer, is he?
No.
But then he wins the case, and then like a scene or so later, he comes up to Lightning. He's like, "Oh, this may be a bad time, but you owe me like $56,000 worth in legal fees." Lightning McQueen's like, "What?" But no, it's good stuff. I love the lawyer jokes in this film. Obviously, didn't pick up on them as a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did you think of the Radiator Springs characters as a whole? So like, your Luigi's, Ramon, the stoner car. I forgot what his name was. But what did you think of all of them?
Honestly, they didn't have much screen time, right? But I think for what they were given, they all kind of did what they were meant to do. They were meant to, each have their own personality and have their own shop in Radiator Springs. And I do think it was done quite well. And obviously they gave more screen time to cars like Sally, who tied into the film a lot more and was a lot more important in the story. But yeah, no, we didn't get much of them, but I didn't hate them in any way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like they all have a very distinct sort of charm and personality to them all. So I think they work really well, like as a collective. And obviously, I think Doc Hudson's probably like my favorite of them all. I think Luigi's great as well. I think Luigi's really funny.
Yeah.
Whoever voiced Luigi did a really, really good job. And so yeah, just when Luigi sort of gets angry at people for messing up his tires, and then when Michael Schumacher comes in and he just like flips over, and it's just very funny, and very, very charming. Pixar movies back in the day, they're very just wholesome and charming.
I liked Ramon as well. I thought he was the coolest back in the day. Like his paint job is sick.
Yeah, it's like he's like Padme Amidala. He's like changing outfit every scene.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like, always in a different color.
Yeah,
selling those toys.
Yeah,
I know I have 2 Ramones somewhere. I don't know. Actually, no, probably 3. Like it's crazy. These like a green one, purple one, yellow one. I think
it was a red one as well.
Yeah, it's just always changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's like, "You scratched my paint job, man." Like when Lightning McQueen comes in. But yeah, no, I love all of them.
Yeah.
They all have their certain charm. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. But we get Lightning McQueen's probably his lowest point when he stuffs up the road and then he sort of rebuilds it in a very shoddy manner.
Yeah.
And Sally's like, "It looks awful," and Lightning McQueen says, "Well, now it matches the rest of the town." And I think that's probably Lightning's lowest point in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I think, he's still, he's a bit selfish after that still, but then, after he has that race with Doc and he finds out that Doc was a famous race car and, sort of, makes his way back up to being a respectable human being
Mhm.
or a respectable car, I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you enjoyed the race between Doc Hudson and Lightning McQueen?
Oh yeah, I love that scene. Um, and there's some incredible shots in this film for 2006. And I was gonna say, for example, when Doc races on the course and he turns right to go left, like
Mm,
you got all the dust coming up, and it's just done so well and animated so meticulously. And it's just
mm,
stuff like that that makes the film. And obviously, Doc Hudson's an amazing character. That scene where he's racing on his own, we get that flashback of him when he was the racer. I don't know,
mm,
it's just cool seeing the mentor, how he used to race, and you know how he's going to teach Lightning McQueen, and then Lightning McQueen's going to go on to teach someone else, and it's going to be a whole legacy, and it's just cool.
mm. Yeah, no, it is really awesome. I love Doc Hudson. I mean, I didn't used to love him as a kid, but that's because the Doc Hudson character is sort of like the more adult um, sort of theming for the movie. If you know, like
Mm.
when we watch this movie as a kid, we watch it because Lightning McQueen's cool and Wingo's cool,
Yeah,
and there's racing and it's cool. But like sort of, you know, as our film knowledge is sort of developed, we can sort of see the themes in the movie,
yeah,
and the themes of mentorship and selfishness and being selfless and
greed.
yeah, exactly. And all of those things in Doc Hudson really, you know, is like the centerpiece for all of
Yeah,
those themes. So yeah, it's good. But I love when Lightning McQueen says he's making fun of Doc Hudson. He says, "You go 0 to 60 in what 3.5 years," and that's a really good car joke
yeah,
because usually 0 to 60, we're talking about fast cars, usually takes about 3.5
yeah.
seconds, and so yeah, so
Three
that
and a
that
half
was really
years.
funny.
Yeah,
That was a good burn. That was a good burn, solid burn from
yeah,
Lightning McQueen there. But yeah, as I said before, I think apart from those races with Doc and when Lightning McQueen say like when he goes with Mater to to turn over tractors, like yeah, it's funny, but not as interesting as the rest of the movie. Um, but regardless, how good is when Lightning McQueen gets filled up with fuel and then considers driving off, like considers just like
yeah,
bolting,
yeah.
and the sheriff like looks at
And
him,
he turns on
and
his
this,
lights.
yeah, such a good scene, isn't it?
Because the good thing about that scene is that you as the audience, you don't know what's going to happen, right? And
Mm,
you want to see if Lightning McQueen is a changed person, and whether he's going to whether he's going to race off, or whether he's going to go for a drive with Sally. And then how he kind of slowly turns around and then goes on with Sally. It's just kind of a reassuring moment that maybe Lightning McQueen is a changed person now. Person slash car. Should probably refer to him as a car. He's a changed car. um
yeah.
it's kind of like a turning point in the film in a way, because towards the end he obviously greatly changes dramatically, and we'll move on to that later on. But just watching, his progression in this film from the cocky boy to getting mentored by Doc Hudson, and then helping others out. It's such a great way to do a character development, and they've just
Mhm.
smashed it out of the park, really.
Yes, it is. It is some very tasty character development. Take notes, Disney Star
Oh
Wars.
God, Disney
Um,
Star Wars, what are you doing?
Route 66, the song Route
Yeah,
66 again.
another
Now,
great
I
song.
don't, yes, and I don't know whether they made the town on Route 66 for the song or they just like got lucky and found the song,
Yeah,
but I think they probably made the town on Route 66 for this song
yeah,
because it is brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So it plays I think when Lightning McQueen is going through and helping everyone in the town, getting his new paint job, etc. And how sick does he look in that new paint job? But
Oh, I love that paint job. It's probably one of my favorites, actually.
yeah,
Oh, but
definitely.
I don't know. The Doc Hudson one in Cars 3 looks pretty
Yes,
good as
that's a
well.
good one. Yeah, I actually searched that one up when I was creating the trailer for this for the
Oh
Instagram
yeah,
because that I remember in Cars because he wears that sort of paint job in Cars 3 at the end,
yeah,
doesn't he?
yeah. And on the back it
Brilliant.
says for Doc.
Yeah. Oh, so sick and so awesome as well. What a brilliant movie Cars 3 is. Maybe we'll have to do that one sometime.
Yeah,
But life could be dream or life could be a
Shipping
dream.
by the chords.
Yes, yeah. Brilliant, brilliant song again. I mean, there's it's just the music in this movie is A plus, like brilliant.
Yeah,
Um, just very, very nice, cheerful, bouncy song.
yeah,
Brilliant. And it sort of picks up, that's sort of like the almost like the high point for Radiator
yeah,
Springs.
yeah,
Before sort of we get the all is lost moment, I guess, when Lightning McQueen gets taken away and Doc Hudson doesn't want him there anymore,
yeah,
and yeah, Lightning McQueen sort of gets rushed off back to his old life. He doesn't get to say goodbye and everything like that.
yeah.
But obviously, it ends better than that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to touch on before the final race?
Let me just go through my notes here. No, it's all about the final race. So let's move on.
Awesome. Brilliant. The final race is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
Doc Hudson returning. So Lightning McQueen, he started the race. He's not really entirely concentrating. He's sort of, his head is elsewhere. And, Chick Hicks, as he does, like bumps Lightning off.
how was
Chick,
no one talking about this? Like,
he does the exact same thing in the first race as well.
yeah,
Like at the start, he bumps Lightning off.
yeah,
Lightning goes off, and then he has to recover. It's just Chick Hicks is a broken record. He's hilarious.
yeah,
But yeah. So and then honestly, like to be completely honest, when Lightning McQueen like goes back onto the road and Mac's like, "Yo, you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then Doc Hudson comes on. That's actually like a really, really wholesome moment.
yeah,
And it's actually like a really like emotional moment too.
yeah,
Like I think my emotions get welled up more in this movie than they did in like most other Pixar movies. I'd probably say Onward was probably above this, but that's just because Onward is an entirely sort of like human and personal
Onward just,
story.
Onward just like it's going for, it's just meant to destroy your emotions in
Yeah,
that final 10
it's
seconds.
just pulling at you.
Yeah, but
It's
this is
pulling at
kind
you.
of like they weren't, intending for it to be anything huge, but Onward was
Yeah,
solely going for that, pulling on
yeah,
your
for sure. But
heartstrings.
this definitely comes close. Like this definitely makes me like well up on the inside. Like
Mhm.
it's just such a really nice moment when Doc Hudson there, he's like, "Come on, you can win this race."
Yeah,
And it sounds pretty cliche, but the speech that he does, like this, because Lightning McQueen goes back in and
yeah,
Doc Hudson sort of gives him a bit of a pep talk. It's just really, really nice because Lightning McQueen, like he's lost the family that he's had,
yeah,
but now they've come back and it's all wholesome. And Doc Hudson's back because that's a character arc for him because he wanted to isolate himself, but now he's back. He's accepted who he is almost. Just brilliant. What did you think? Like, does this make you like? Does it pull on your heartstrings as much as some of the other movies?
Um, I've had other movies that have done it better, but I said it was heartwarming because in no way, shape, or form is it terrible in any way. Um, but it was a very heartwarming moment when you realized he came back because it was also really unexpected. Like you didn't
Mm,
see it happening because the scene right before it, obviously Doc Hudson calls the police or whatever. Who did he even call? I think it was like
I
some,
think he called like the news anchor or
news
something.
anchor.
Yeah,
And then so you don't really see any change going to be happening within a
yeah,
5 minute span, but then it just clicks and he's there.
mm,
It's like, oh
yeah.
wow, that was unexpected. So in a way, it was done very, very subtly, but it was done very well.
Yeah, some good off-screen character development
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Was really, really good. Because yeah, sometimes movies do that because they don't have time to develop their characters. But I think in this movie it works better.
yeah,
Like we don't expect him to be there, and then it is, and it's really
yeah,
nice. Um, I will say, Guido's pit stop. So, he's just one guy, and the you see Chick Hicks's like pit crew sort of try to get under his nerves,
Guido's the
and it's like,
blue guy, right?
yeah, Guido's the blue guy. He's that pit stop.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
how
so
he like
good.
chucks the tires up in the air. He like
Yes.
in like 1 second he gets all the tires and like cleans off.
Oh, so good. Like, what a good throw, though.
Yeah.
He throws 4 tires up and they all land in the perfect position. And yeah, fastest pit stop anybody's ever seen.
Yeah.
And Chick Hicks's pit crew, their moustache falls off. And because they're just so amazed. And then he's like, pit stop. And then the other moustache falls off. It's so funny. But yeah, so that was a really nice moment as well. And obviously we spoke about the king a bit as well. I love the king. He's probably like my favorite side character.
Oh yeah.
And I just loved the fact that throughout the entire film, the king isn't really, too fussed about the race. He's sort of just happy to be
He's
there.
happy to be there, isn't he? Yeah, because
Yeah, it's sort of like
tires after, I'm pretty sure. I presume.
Yes, yeah, because we do see him in Cast 3, but he's not racing anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just really, really, really nice how he's just like enjoying being there.
Yeah.
He's just enjoying being part of the sport, and that's what Lightning McQueen sort of comes to learn.
Yeah.
Whereas Chick Hicks is sort of all about winning. So I really liked the king, because you see, like, as they're racing, the king sort of got like a subtle smile on him, like he's just
happy to race one last time, to be honest.
Yeah, which is really wholesome. And then obviously, when Chick Hicks does what Chick Hicks does, it sort of brings out a bit of the emotions there as well.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that? Obviously the famous crash and the push, and obviously very wholesome.
Yeah, so the ending of this film is just so goddamn good. And it really shows how far Lightning McQueen has kind of developed as a character. As a car, I should say.
But he feels like a human. That's the
right,
thing,
so
he's got
it's
the
weird.
human emotions.
Yeah.
So
how he stops for the King Mayweathers is just spectacular. And I mean, he stops right before the finish line. He could have gone over the finish line and came back, but stopping right before the finish line, that's what makes this film, it kind of shows that Lightning McQueen doesn't care about winning anymore. He just solely cares about, the enjoyment of doing the sport and the people that he's playing it with. And I think Pixar has probably nailed this film ending, and it's probably one of the best they've ever done in any animated film. So they've both nailed the opening and conclusion of this film, and honestly, that doesn't happen very often. You don't see many films that do that, especially animated films. And personally, for me, I couldn't see any better way of opening and closing this film. I think they've just done it perfectly.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Pixar at its best, truly, like, honestly. And then I love when Lightning McQueen, when he goes back to push the king, and the king's like, "What are you doing, man? You just threw away a piston cup."
Yeah.
And then Lightning McQueen says the line that Doc Hudson said. He's like, "Oh, well, some old grumpy race car once told me it's just an empty cup." And it's just like such a nice moment.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, brilliant character development, brilliant dialogue, and just brilliant story. And obviously makes it a whole much like so much more wholesome when you think of, obviously, Paul Newman. He passed away shortly after this film came out, and then the ramifications that has in Cars 3. It's just such a good story. And then obviously great music as well, by the way, in that last race. And when McQueen pushes the king over the line, there's great music there as well. It's not like a song. It's just like good orchestral sort of music. So really, really good. But yeah, what did you think about Lightning McQueen turning down Dynaco's sponsorship offer?
Look, as a choice for his life, and it was probably a dumb decision because he could have a boatload of money. But again, it shows how far his character's come, and I think it was a wise decision to to end this film. You know, he doesn't care about who he's racing with, and even if he
Mm.
had gone with Dynaco, you know, he would have done it well because Dynaco is a great car racing company. I mean, look who they produce. They've got the King Mayweathers, and he's great.
Mm.
So um, yeah, but I think it was quite smart to stay with the Rusties because you know you can't beat the red colors of Rusties. It's just what Lightning McQueen is.
Yeah, for sure. And I just get so angry as a kid when I was watching that. I was like, Lightning, just go to
Yeah,
Dynaco.
okay, yeah,
Because I wanted to see him in the blue, and but that's just, that's my stupid younger self not realizing
as Frank
that.
Sinatra would say, that's life.
Yeah. um, that, Lightning McQueen, his character, makes sense for his character to stay with the people who gave him his first shot in the first place, So yeah, so really, really nice. And then obviously we get Michael Schumacher's cameo as a Ferrari, which is really nice in itself. Obviously, the horrible thing that happened to Michael Schumacher after this film was released, but it was really nice to have him in this film. If there's ever a Cars 4, I'd expect Lewis Hamilton to be in it because Lewis Hamilton's just passed Michael Schumacher in race wins,
Mhm.
and he just won again like yesterday or something. So he's become a racing legend as well. So if there's ever a Cars 4, sort of God forbid,
Yeah,
really.
it's been announced. The Last Ride, 2025.
Whoa, what? Oh dear. The Last Ride sounds like The Last Jedi.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Oh dear. The Last Ride. Oh dear. They better not kill Lightning McQueen. Oh dear.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
got it.
I don't like sequels to movies anymore. Anyway, regardless. Do you have anything else before we talk about the credit sequence?
No, let's move on to it.
Okay. How brilliant. I mean, you can tell that Pixar really cared about this project when the credit scenes are this good.
Yeah.
And you get it in Toy Story 3 as well. The credit scenes to that are really good too. Um, you can just tell the love that the production team put into this movie. Obviously, do you want to go through those cameos that we have?
Yeah, so I think we start off with I think it was Woody and Buzz in car form,
Mm.
and then it moves
Toy
on.
Car Story.
Toy Car Story, exactly, and then it moves on to Ham, and obviously it's voiced by John Ratzenberger, who also voices
Mm.
Mac. And then
Yeah.
it flashes over to Mac, and Mac's like, I can't remember what he says, but he makes some funny comment because it's the same voice actor. And then it moves on to was it Monsters Inc. Keep in mind there was only a few Pixar films that have come out at this time, so they
Yeah.
couldn't have done many cameos. But and then they do Monsters Inc. So we get Sully, who's this massive monster.
Monster Truck
And then
makes sense,
yeah,
eh?
it does.
The film was titled Monster Trucks Incorporated.
What was it? Oh,
Yeah, because you see on the sign
yeah, it is
there.
on
So
the sign, isn't it? Yeah.
the first one is Toy Car Story, and then it's Monsters Trucks, Monster Trucks Incorporated,
That's funny.
and
Yeah.
then
Oh, that's really fitting.
yeah,
Then we get Mike as this little. I don't even
yeah.
know who he is.
I don't even know either.
Do we have any
Just a
other?
very small.
We had a Bug's Life.
There was A Bug's
Yeah.
Life, yeah, and then that was sort of a like a
Oh, we got the
pun
Yeti.
on.
Oh, we skipped over the Yeti.
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah,
so the Yeti's voiced by John Ratzenberger as well, and it flashes back
yeah,
to back. So yeah, that was quite funny.
yeah. Because Mac's sitting there like, hang on, they're just reusing the same actor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. And then we have A Bug's Life, which is sort of like a pun on bug, like a car, like a bug car, which is like a beetle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like they're all Beatles, I think. And then we have John Ratzenberg again, and and then Mac's like, hang on, they're just reusing the same actor.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Uh,
It's such a good.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we get like a few nice like slow motion shots of the film at the end as well, with Randy Newman's song in the background, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
So speaking of music, let's quickly go to our music segment. Fantastic. There's not a bad song in this movie. Honestly, we could have put like 5 songs in.
Yeah.
But the ones we're going to go for are Real Gone, and Life is a Highway. Those two going into the rewatch playlist. And honestly, when we get to our season finale and we go through our season awards, I reckon, these songs have a good chance of winning a best animated song category,
Yeah,
or whatever
for sure.
whatever we think.
And I think it was fitting to put in songs that are original. You're putting in something like Shaboom by the Chords, which is I think like a song made in the '60s. It doesn't feel right because Real Gone and Life is a Highway are both original songs for this film, even though Life is a Highway, sorry, was originally done by Tom Cochrane in 1990. I want to say like 1990, 1991. So Rascal Flatts did do a cover on it for this film, but it's still a great song nonetheless. So I do think that putting original songs in the podcast playlist was probably the smartest decision for this.
Yeah, for sure. And Real Gone is also original song by Sheryl Crow, and so that was made for the film, and it's only ever like the only album sort of you can find for it is on the Cars official soundtrack. So,
Mhm.
and this movie is, I mean, sorry, this song, the start of this song is incredibly exhilarating
Yeah.
and like motivational. Like it's got a really, really good guitar sort of,
Mm.
track in it, and really, really awesome. Yes, it's an iconic
Yeah.
theme, and very nostalgic for some of us, but it's also like a fantastic song regardless. So yeah, and then obviously we have those controversial lyrics about Lightning McQueen's
Don't
political
don't
beliefs.
don't say it.
All right, so let's go to some final thoughts then. And what are you going to rate this? What are you going to rate this, Jaden?
Okay. I'll do my rating at the end, but I'll talk about it first.
Okay.
I mean, how can you not like Cars, right? It's a classic. I
Yeah.
despise anyone that hates this film. Send me a message. I'm curious as to whether you hate this film or whether you like it. And if you don't like this film, I want to know why, because this is a great film.
Yes, for sure.
The story in this film, in my opinion, is probably in the top 3 that Pixar have ever produced. And, it might even be number 1. The original music in this film is great, and I also love the actors in this film. Sally Mater, Doc, and McQueen all stood out to me as just really great characters. And I probably wouldn't change anything about them because, as you said, Mater's kind of, he's not that funny anymore. But for when we were children, he was the most funny thing in the world, and that's what the film's meant for. And I also really liked the King in this film, as I said before. The opening and the closing of this film is just done wonderfully. Cars is a cult classic, and I honestly don't know anyone that doesn't like this film. I mean, come on, who doesn't like Cars? I've seen Cars 2, which I didn't really enjoy. Like I said, I just watched Cars 3, which I really enjoyed because they went back to what Cars is, the racing, and that's what we want from Cars. How are you gonna have a Cars film that isn't racing? Like, how are you gonna have a Cars film that's a Mission Impossible film? Like, come on, whose idea was that? They need to fire that person. But then again, it did make Cars 1, so tough to say. Well, they are firing him on it.
Yeah, they are firing him.
Anyway, moving on. So, so they're movies for a potentially future episode of the podcast, but let's get back onto Cars. I haven't watched this film in ages, so I kind of forgot how good it was. And, before rewatching this, it kind of stood as like a B+ for me because I kind of forgot how good it was. And I couldn't really remember it. But after rewatching it, I was reminded of how amazing this film is. Like, the story is just incredible. So I definitely think it's fitting to give Cars an A rating. Anything less than that to me is just completely unjustified.
For sure. Yeah. No, I completely agree with all of your points, and sort of, I guess, because I agree with absolutely everything you just said. So I'm going to go for sort of the more emotional aspect of why I like this film. So obviously we all have played sport at some stage, and we all like watching sports, etc., etc. We all know how it feels to win, and we all know how it feels to lose. And sort of, as a sports fan myself, and I play quite a few bit of different sports, and so I've come to be accustomed to winning and losing. And this film sort of tackles, winning and losing as a theme, and also, what it's really about. And it's not really about, coming first or coming second. It's about, wanting to be there. It's about wanting to, enjoy it with the people who you're going on the journey with, and everything like that. And that's a really sort of, you know, deep message, for an animated movie that's about cars going around and around on a racetrack, and a car that says "KACHOW." It's quite a quite a meaningful message there. And then also, obviously, Doc Hudson has a really good character arc as well. I think the character development in this film is absolutely phenomenal. I'd say it's probably liken it to something like Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, and Woody maybe, in terms of Lightning McQueen and Doc Hudson. So yeah, I agree. I think this movie Cars is one of the best Pixar movies ever made. I also think it's one of the best sport movies ever made, and I also think it's one of the best racing movies ever made, because if you think of movies like Ford vs Ferrari, which came out recently, which is very good. You can't just do a racing movie about winning. You have to make it a bit more meaningful, and you have to give it sort of a message. And the message in Ford vs Ferrari is actually very similar to the one in this movie, but there's something about Cars. It's just brilliant. That start is literally an A plus, and the ending is an A plus. But the reason why I'm not going to give it an A plus today is because of that middle bit, which I think just drags slightly. And yeah, so it's going to be an A for me, but I think this is better than Monsters Inc. If anybody disagrees with me, I'm happy to have that debate.
No, I think this is better than Monsters Inc. as well, to be honest. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love this movie. It's one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites as a kid because of how cool it was, and now it's one of my favorites when I'm as a sort of an older kid, I guess. That because of the themes within it, and just that meaningful character development and that story. Lightning McQueen is one of the coolest characters ever, because he starts out as a cocky idiot, which I think, we've all had times in our life when we're a bit overconfident about something. We think we're better than we actually are. And, we need somebody like Doc Hudson to slap us in the face and be like, remember, what's meaningful and everything like that. So it's a cool movie, one of the coolest movies ever, but it's also like a very meaningful movie for an animated movie. One of the best animated movies of all time. It gets an A ranking from me.
Look at that, twice in a row we've agreed.
Yes, fantastic, brilliant. Yes, we'll have to, do something next week, which is more divisive. How about no? Oh, I think we need a good run up to that one. I'm thinking Solo though. What do you think?
Yeah, let's
do Solo next week.
Star Wars film.
Yes, that would be good. We haven't done a Star Wars film in a while, so we'll do Solo. Thanks to everybody for voting as to what we did this week. We hope we chose something that you can enjoy as well. Cars obviously on Disney Plus, so you can watch it there. It looks fantastic.
I want to rewatch it, honestly. Like, before doing this podcast, I didn't have any intention in rewatching it, but this film is just so good.
Yeah, definitely deserves a rewatch. The whole essence of this podcast is watching movies that we used to love, and whether we should recommend you to watch them again. Absolutely recommend watch this film again. You will not be disappointed. All right, so thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the podcast, listening to us talk about how good this movie was for well over an hour
and a half.
Yes, but that's how good it was. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search the Rewatch on YouTube. We're doing Solo, a Star Wars story, for our next episode, and maybe we'll have a guest on for the one after that. We'll see. I'll have to organize that. But thank you everybody for listening. Bye for now.
See ya.